How can I
Right.
frame what I bring to the table, whatever that is, in a way that's compelling to the person I'm talking to? Um, and it doesn't matter. I mean, if it doesn't matter if it's an internship or a full-time job or 20 years later in your career, it's incumbent on you to connect those dots for the person that you're talking to help them understand why you are the person that they need to be talking to. And I think if people take a step back, understand they're not going to check every box, but there's more to them than the boxes they can check. And it's helping the recruiter understand what you bring to the table. That's really, really important.
Howdy, Ags, and welcome back to On Air with Student Affairs, the podcast that showcases all the ways you can create your Aggie experience at Texas A&M. I'm Morgan Miles, your host, and I am the loudest and the proudest member of the Fightin' Texas Aggie class of 2026, AAA. Whoop! And today I am here with Desiree Wilson, class of 85, the executive director of the Career Center. How are you today?
I'm doing terrific. I'm excited about doing this.
We're so excited to have you. Thank you for joining us. And so I know I already said your name and your position, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you do, kind of elaborate on it?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm class of 85. I graduated with a marketing degree from Texas A&M and went to work in the oil and gas industry for a few years and then moved into the tech industry. So for about 25 years, I did work in all kinds of different roles in IT and earned an MBA along the way. Had a little detour and did the mommy thing for about 5 years and then came back to work. I started back here at A&M in 2011 with the Career Center as a member of the Employment Services team, which works with employers, but have been here at the Career Center since 2011 and took over as the executive director about a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow. So you've been down a lot of different paths career-wise.
Definitely.
So what led you back to A&M?
What led me back to A&M, I've been living in College Station for probably 35 years now, but had never worked at A&M other than as a student worker way back in the day.
Oh, wow.
But, it was one of those things where I saw the position and it's like it's like all of my other jobs, even though they were with multiple companies and different industries and different roles, it was like it all kind of came together because the employment services role in the Career Center is working with all kinds of different industries and employers and roles, and it really allowed me to have a credible presence with those recruiters and be able to understand from my years in private sector and as a hiring manager, what do you look for? How do you connect with students? So it really enabled me to, I think, make a connection with the recruiters that come to look for Aggies to hire.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit about the Career Center for those who maybe don't know what it is? And can you also tell us where it is for those who don't know where it's located?
Well, I'm going to start with the what, and then we'll get to the where.
Okay.
So the Career Center is what we call a centralized career center. That means there is one career center on campus that serves all students. It doesn't matter if you're an undergrad, a master's, or PhD student. Doesn't matter what college. Doesn't matter what classification. Doesn't matter if you're a former student. The Career Center is set up to service all of them. So we are physically located in a bunch of different areas around campus. Our main office is in 209 Coldus, which is the building right across the street from Kyle Field and the MSC. So we're on the second floor there. We also have satellite offices all across campus. We have permanent locations in Wayner and Ag and Zachary and Nagel and several other buildings, because that gives us the ability to be part of the fabric where students are. So if you walk past the Career Center satellite office in Wayner building every day, You're going to know it's there. You don't have to come across campus from the west side of campus to meet with us. We're right there. We're in your backyard. But as far as structure, we have kind of 5 different groups, if you will, within the Career Center. One of them is student-facing. That's called campus programs. That's probably the one that students are most familiar with because that's your career advisor. That's the person in the satellite office. That's the one you're going to talk to with drop-in advising. We have our employment services team, which is the flip side of that coin. They work with the recruiters and employers that come to campus and engage with students to hire for intern, co-op, and full-time. We have our professional school advisors, which is a team that works with undergrads who aspire to go to professional school. That can be, for example, medical school, dental school, law school.
Right.
All of those types of secondary schools that lead to a professional type degree like that. And we have former student advising. Once an Aggie, always an Aggie.
Hey.
So even though the majority of our students are here and engage with us, if you need help the week after graduation or 20 years after graduation, we're set up to help. And the last pillar, if you will, is our mentoring. We partner with student orgs, former students, departments across campus to deliver mentoring platform to engage peer-to-peer, former students, professionals.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So it sounds like you offer a lot to a lot of different varieties of Aggies, which is incredible. And I think it's awesome that you also offer things to former students to know, like, if something happens and I need a job 30 years later, I can still come to the Career Center at A&M and there's still resources available to me. So what kind of resources are you offering for students? Like, what can they come and get help with? Yeah,
great question. So I think most students, if they think of a Career Center, they're going to say, I need my resume reviewed.
Right.
Well, check. We do that. We have daily drop-in advising. So every single day, Monday through Friday, you can connect in virtually through our website, or you can come into an office and meet with a career advisor. So those 2 things are really kind of expected. A job board. We have Hire Aggies. So if you go to the Career Center website, careercenter.tamu.edu, and click on the button that says Launch Hire Aggies, that's where a lot of our resources are. So we have online resources for resume reviews. You can upload your resume to an AI tool that will give you a score and suggestions on how to improve it.
Oh, wow.
We have virtual mock interviews. If I'm an accounting student looking for a full-time job in forensic accounting, I can plug in those parameters and pick from thousands of questions that an interviewer may ask me. We also have, what's really important, assessment tools to help students understand where that intersection is between their academics and their personal interests. So maybe I'm an environmental science student and I really have an interest in preserving wildlife or forests. Well, what kind of jobs?
Right.
And who hires those? And one of the other tools that we have is what we call our first destination survey. So we ask graduating seniors to help us understand where they're going after graduation. That might be professional school. That might be graduate school. That might be the workforce. It might be military or volunteer. So what we do is we aggregate those thousands and thousands of responses, and we publish that every semester. So, for example, it's a great tool if I'm a neuroscience undergrad and I'm trying to figure out my next step. Maybe I'm a sophomore or junior, and I look at this and says, okay, who hires my major? We have a link called Who Hires My Major. And I go there and I say, show me for the last 4 semesters where undergrad neuroscience students went. Did they go to grad school? Where did they go? What are they studying? Did they get a job? Who hired them and what are they doing and how much are they making? So we have these tools available, which are great for current students, but also prospective students as they're trying to figure out how to navigate these things. So a lot of online resources, but we're always there in person, face-to-face or virtual every day.
That's awesome. That's so incredible to hear all of the different things, especially like, I think even as a junior, like even though I'm not graduating yet, I think it can be nerve-wracking to like be like, oh my goodness, like what's my next step? Like I need to have this internship. I need to have this job. And so I kind of want to focus in on like students who are about to graduate this spring. I think kind of like I said, it's hard. You feel like you're supposed to be ahead and you feel like you're behind. Like what resources do you think that students who are graduating that maybe feel like, oh, it's too late for me to find a job or like find an internship? What do you think they should utilize at the Career Center?
And our little mantra is it's never too late and it's never too early.
Right.
Okay. So even if you are graduating in May and you haven't started a career search, it's not too late. If you have no idea, do I want a job? Do I want to go to grad school? What do I want to do? We have those assessment tools to help start those conversations with yourself.
Right.
To try to better understand where those interests are and what your options are. So starting with some of the online resources, but absolutely coming in and talking, having a one-on-one advising appointment with our team to talk through and understand. But there's also, if you know that you want to go into maybe a certain type of job or a certain industry, in Hire Aggies, we engage with over 4,000 employers every year.
Oh, wow.
Through Hire Aggies and the Career Center. So I encourage students to go into Hire Aggies and look at the opportunities that are in there. You can search for keywords. You can search for companies. You can search for a particular job title or even a geographic. I want to move to the Kansas City area and work for the railroad industry. So I can plug in certain things and see what's out there.
So what kind of companies does the Career Center interact with?
Well, as I mentioned, we interact with, on average, about 4,000 unique companies every year. That can range from private sector, the U.S. government, it's international firms, it's nonprofits. So we really have companies that represent about anything you could imagine and the opportunities that go along with that. We help, our employment services team's role is to work with those companies to help them understand how to reach students that have not necessarily maybe the major they're looking for, but the skills that they're recruiting for. Great example would be if I am a technology company and I'm looking for technical sales. We don't have a major that is technical sales.
Right.
Maybe an arts and sciences student is the best fit for that. Maybe an engineer is a great fit for that. Or an economics student. Who knows? It's much more maybe a skill or personality position than a major. So we help employers understand where to reach the students that have the skills that they're trying to find to fill their positions.
Right. I kind of want to touch back. We did mention, like, I heard you mention networking and panels and things like that. So what kind of networking events, panels, career fairs, things like that do you offer throughout the year?
Right. So last academic year, the Career Center facilitated over 1,100 panels, workshops, and outreach events. That's a lot.
That's a huge number.
That's a lot. That means we're in front of tens of thousands of students, which is fantastic. Now, what that translates into on a day-to-day basis, if you go to the Career Center website, we have an events tab that has a calendar option. And for example, if you look at February, I don't think there's a day in February where we don't have 1, 2, 3, or 4 events on a given day. So as you're looking to see what's out there, be it an employer panel or a workshop, it's going to be on there. So examples would be things like we have a workshop series called My First. So my first resume, my first career fair, my first interview, my first internship. So it goes through from beginning to end,
Right.
a lot of firsts, right? But that doesn't mean I have to be a freshman. Maybe I'm a graduating senior and I haven't been to a career fair yet. So it'll be my first career fair. We have career fair prep events. We have resume review events. We have employers a lot of times that will participate in these events as well. Mm-hmm. So you can get feedback right from a recruiter.
Right.
Which is awesome because these are the people that you're going to be talking to at the career fair the next day, right?
Right.
So we have topical panels as well as professional development. So if you're interested in the energy industry or in research industry for therapeutics, we have panels a lot of times where we will either virtually or in person bring in professionals from these companies. Maybe it's one company in different roles or multiple companies that have representatives to talk to students about what does a career in therapeutics look like. So there's really something for everyone, and the events page lists it all.
Wow, that's incredible. So I kind of want to touch back. You said it's not always just freshmen. Like it could be the graduating senior. But specific to like freshmen or like even incoming sophomores, because I know we do have like people that transfer over from blend team, because like I was blend team. So it's like, I think in high school, you don't get a ton of experience really working with like resumes and things like that. Like there's not a ton of prep in school for that. So like, what do you recommend that like those people go to? What type of events?
Yeah. So I think just like in your academic career, the classes you take as a freshman are very different from the classes you might take as a junior or senior, right? You have to build that baseline before you get to all the meaty stuff up here as a senior. So it's very much the same thing. If you start as a freshman, there's a lot of baseline stuff that you can work on and try to build skills with. And I think the word networking sometimes comes with some baggage, if you will, because it can be off-putting or scary, or I don't know about networking. I don't know how to do that. I would argue that probably a better word for networking is just conversation.
Right.
Because if I go to a career or an employer panel, for example, I might stay and have a question after the presentation.
Right.
That's networking. Or if I'm a little bit early to an information session and the recruiter's up front, I might ask them, how did you get to the role that you're in? What was your major when you were in school?
Right.
That's networking. But really, it's just a conversation. So I think that's a lot less daunting than saying, go to this networking event. When really what you want to do is go to this event and have a conversation with people.
Absolutely.
And as freshmen, as sophomores, well, at any time really through the process, you're taking these skills, you're learning how to have those conversations. You're learning that to be a competitive candidate for an internship, maybe, bring up these particular types of skills that are important for your area that you want to go into. The types of skills that you can hone as a freshman and sophomore and then leverage as a junior and senior. So it all builds. It's a process. That is not to say that you can't cram for the exam as a senior, right? You can, and you can be very successful. But the earlier you start, the earlier and more practice you have at learning how to have these conversations, the less stressful it is.
Right. And like you said, networking can be really intimidating. Like I know as a junior, like I've started networking this year and like it can be intimidating. And I think something that like people can be scared of is like the fear of like failure or like rejection from like a company. But I want to kind of ask like what's some advice you have for someone that's maybe like learning how to network or doing it for the first time? And what's the benefit of networking with Aggies? Because the Aggie Network has worked wonders for me.
Right. So benefits of networking, there's no downside. There is just no downside. It's the same thing as establishing a relationship with your professor, right? If the professor knows who you are, it just makes everything easier.
Right.
If you have the ability or the inclination to have conversations with recruiters or with guest speakers in your classes or coworkers, if you're a student worker, you have staff all around you, and maybe academic, your professors or GAs all around you. Start having these conversations because the reality of it all is, and this is not just entry-level jobs or internships for students. This is jobs like forever.
Yeah.
Because what jobs are posted in Hire Aggies or LinkedIn or other places where you might look online for opportunities is truly the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
What happens the majority of the time is a hiring manager will say to their network, do you know somebody who might be a good fit for this position? Those positions are never posted.
Oh, wow.
So it's having these conversations, having the friendships, the connections, the Aggie network.
Absolutely.
That says, oh, I know that Des was looking for a position in advertising. She might be a really good fit over here. Doesn't mean I'm going to get the job, but I at least know about the opportunity.
Your name's out there.
And your name's out there. And the Aggie network, you're exactly right. It's real. It's real.
It's incredible.
What it does not mean is that you're guaranteed to get the job, but you can start those conversations a whole lot easier than if it wasn't there. And as far as networking, you're the Aggie network as a student, as much as I am an Aggie network as a former student. And I think as Aggies, we know we have each other's back, right? If you, I think we all have kind of a responsibility that we understand to pay it forward,
right,
to the next generation of Aggies. But lean into the Aggie network. Our Association of Former Students is amazing.
Oh yeah.
You can't walk through an airport and not see someone in Aggie swagger with an Aggie ring, and the first thing out of your mouth is going to be, "What class are you?" And in 5 minutes, you'll know their spouse's name, how many pets they have, where they live, all of it. And it's because of the Aggie network. And that's networking too.
Absolutely.
That's a conversation.
Yeah.
But it's networking.
It is. It is. And so I kind of want to touch, not only on networking and career fairs and all the things, what are some really underutilized things that the career fairs offer that
the Career Center offers?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Actually, there's several things, but I'm going to focus on a couple of important ones. We talked about the obvious things that people expect us to have, right? So drop-in advising, resume reviews, job board, things like that. Did you know that our staff will also help you evaluate job offers?
I did not know that.
We will work with you. Let's say you have a job offer in Washington, D.C., and another one in Portland, Oregon, and another one in El Paso, Texas. Pretty good deal.
Yeah.
What do you do with them? The salaries are very different, and the benefit package is very different, and we will sit down with you and help you make that apples and apples so you can understand that a $200,000 salary here and a $110,000 salary here might really be the same thing.
Really?
Because of cost of living and other expenses that go along with that. So we help students understand how to evaluate multiple job offers. We help students understand how to negotiate salary offers. When is it okay to go back, and how do you do this? How do you go back and say, that's a good offer. I'd like to go through the negotiation process and see if we can't come to an agreement on salary. So we will work with students on all of this. We actually have workshops that teach students how to do this. So those are a couple of resources that we have that I think students may not know about as much. And then, of course, we have our latest toy in the Career Center, which we just got last November, which is a professional headshot booth. So this is something we're really excited about rolling out this semester. How many LinkedIn profiles have you looked at where it's a prom picture with the date cropped out? And
a million.
Right. So not the best look as a professional or someone who's aspiring for their first professional job. So there's a lot of work out there that says headshot or LinkedIn profiles with professional headshots versus a cropped picture or no headshot is many orders of magnitude times more likely to get connection requests and engagement than if you had nothing or something that's not professional. So we wanted to provide students at no cost the opportunity to get a professional headshot in the Career Center at Coldus Building. It's walk up. You don't have to have an appointment. And within a minute, you have your headshots on your phone and in your email that you can then crop and put online. Again, there's no charge. Anyone can come in and use it.
That's incredible. I think, it's a great thing to have in the Career Center, especially a lot of jobs. I know the career field that I want to go into, sports, a lot of them require a professional headshot. And so I think that's incredible that now there's something on campus. It's free. It's available to everybody.
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
Right. We're really hoping that students take advantage of that. I think it's got such an upside.
It really does. Are there any student success stories that just absolutely stand out to you?
I'm going to give you two examples. And one of them is one of our student workers. We have a lot of student workers that help us in the Career Center interact and engage with employers and just generally keep things running. We couldn't do what we do without them. And there was a computer science student who was working with us one day or one semester, and a company was interviewing that he really wanted to work for, but he was not selected to interview with them. He had applied for the position, but not selected. So he was talking with a recruiter for that company on the day they were interviewing, and she asked him what his major was. He said, "I'm computer science." "Did you apply for our positions?" "Yes, I did, but I wasn't selected." And they got to talking, and she said, "Well, give me your resume." And as a result of that conversation in the lobby of the Career Center, that student worker actually got an interview and ended up getting hired with that company. One that he was, just based on his resume alone, wasn't selected for. So he ended up with a great full-time job for something that he didn't think he had a shot with.
Oh, wow.
So that's one that makes you happy.
Oh, yeah.
Another one is we have what's called our Aggie Career Team, which is a student group that we sponsor. And you want to talk about networking and conversations and things like that. One of the things that the Aggie Career Team does with our employment services staff is help our partner companies execute their information sessions or other events on campus. So, for example, if I'm an Aggie Career Team member, maybe I want to go into the oil and gas industry. Chevron is coming to do a presentation. The Aggie Career Team members have the opportunity to help Chevron recruiters at their info session. And maybe it's checking in students or handing out swag or running down to find somebody if there's an AV problem. But the point is, you are having informal conversation, networking with the very recruiters who are going to be looking at student resumes and doing the interviews.
Right.
So it's an amazing opportunity for our students to start in having those relationships and conversations in a non-stressful environment. And we have had more than, I can think of 3 where students have either landed internships or full-time positions just based on the conversations because they said, "I'm interested in that industry or that company. I want to see if I can talk to those recruiting teams that are doing this event." So Aggie Career Team ACT is a great way to start having those conversations, and it pays off.
Absolutely. That's incredible. And I really love that first story you told. And it's heartwarming, because I
Yeah.
kind of mentioned, like, I think one of the things that people are most afraid of is like rejection
Right.
and failure. And so even out of that, like, he was still able to land a job, which is incredible.
Right. And it's also testament to, you present yourself on paper and maybe you're not exactly the candidate, or you weren't presented as exactly the candidate to whichever recruiter looked at your resume, but the power of the personality as well. And that it's not just that or that, it's those two things together.
Absolutely. Now, to kind of close out, I want to ask if you have any advice to give students maybe when they're looking for internships or, looking at getting their first job. Like, what's some good advice?
I think one of the things that has come through over and over again when I talk with students is they feel like they're not bringing enough to the table sometimes. I'm maybe applying for an internship, but why should they pick me over you? Or I'm applying for a full-time job, but some candidates might have 3 internships and I have 1.
Yeah.
I think students really need to take that step back and understand that nobody out there expects them to have solved world hunger yet. All right? They're students. You are going to get professional experience. You're going to find your way. And I think it's important for students to objectively look at their skills, their major, and frame a narrative that presents them as a good candidate for what they're trying to achieve. If I'm a rising junior and I'm looking for my first internship, no, I don't have all of my finance classes yet. Those are in junior and senior year, right? But I want an internship in the finance world. Well, what do I bring to the table? And maybe I don't have any finance experience, but did I have an inclination or an interest, or have I done any LinkedIn? How can I frame what I bring to the table, whatever that is, in a way that's compelling to the person I'm talking to? And it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's an internship or a full-time job or 20 years later in your career. It's incumbent on you to connect those dots for the person that you're talking to help them understand why you are the person that they need to be talking to. And I think if people take a step back, understand they're not going to check every box, but there's more to them than the boxes they can check. And it's helping the recruiter understand what you bring to the table. That's really, really important.
I love that. That's a great answer. And I love that last bit you said, like, it's more than just checking all the boxes. I think that's really, really great advice. It's really encouraging to hear.
Yep. And it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Fun.
This has been awesome. I've had a great time. Thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. And telling us more about the Career Center and everything that it offers. For more information on how to get involved through the Division of Student Affairs, go to tex.ag/createyouraggie experience. Thanks and gig 'em.